Today on the channel, it's return to the Kyle Peterson Top 10. And today, in honor of 53,000 subscribers, we're counting down my top 10 favorites. WCW OSFTM hard rubber guys.
The spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Everyone, Kyle here, back again with another edition of the Kyle Peterson Top 10. A Thursday tradition here on the channel is every single Thursday, we're doing a top 5 and occasionally a top 10 countdown. And today's top 10, it is honor of 53,000 subscribers on this very YouTube channel. Appreciate all the support out there. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do. And we'll do another top 10 when we hit 54,000 subscribers, part of the slow crawl to 100,000. But today we're diving into a toy line that is a little bit forgotten by most people. And I'm going to tell my history with this toy line here. It is the WCW original San Francisco Toy Makers toy line. Now, they had a few different lines, the original San Francisco Toy Makers, with WCW, as we do know. They even made an ECW toy line that is a favorite of many, myself included. I even wrote a book on it. It is the complete guide to the ECW original San Francisco Toy Makers toy line, available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or you can pick up a copy from me if you want to. I got a couple of copies left. But the OSFTM brand, they really honed in on WCW once upon a time with a couple of different toy lines, as I said. And to me, maybe you're different, but this is probably the most famous line from them. And I remember first hearing and seeing these at a local KB Toys. I think there was like a KB Toys advertisement in my Sunday paper back when that was a thing. My dad would get the Sunday paper. I'd always look through the ads. KB had an ad there, and it had the OSFTM figures. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute here, because as a little kid, of course, I grew up with the LJNs and the Hasbros. So seeing these big rubber guy style figures, part of WCW, I was taken aback right away. So I said, Dad, we got to go to KB Toys. We got to see what, dare I say, all the fuss is about. And of course we did, because my dad probably hunting starting lineups and stuff too. So we were at a lot of toy shops way back in the day. Still am now to this day, of course. But I was very, very excited for these figures, but my anticipation went from extremely high to extremely low in almost an instant, as I did see these at my local KB Toys, and I remember being very disappointed about these. Just on first impression, seeing them, holding them in my hand. Packaging was fine, didn't have any issues with the packaging or anything. Very 90s packaging style, of course. And WCW wasn't everybody's cup of tea. I love WCW, but I tell you, my least favorite time for WCW was around the time Hulk Hogan first joined, and those couple of years till the NWO hit. I really enjoyed pre-Hogan WCW personally. You like what you like, you don't what you don't. But I was very disappointed in these figures because I was hoping to recapture the magic of LJN. And when I saw the advertisement, I said, oh my gosh, I got my LJNs. I can have those guys right into that fig fed. Oh boy, look what we can do. Well, unfortunately, when the time came, I realized very quickly, and I think I can't remember, I bought two of them, and I can't even for the life of me remember which ones I bought. I think Hulkster was probably one of them. I can't remember what the other one was. I don't know why I can't remember that. I can remember almost all action figures from my childhood, but I can't remember these. But these are the only two I ever bought until I was much older as an adult, and I decided to pick up the whole line, except for the missing Jimmy Hart figure that David C. Anderson, good friend of the channel, still has. I'd like to get that. I just don't want to pay the big bucks for the blackface Jimmy Hart. That's what it is. Look it up if you want to hear more on that story, of course. But very excited about these, but very disappointed once the rubber hit the road and I saw these in hand. They did not hold up to an LJN, as the sizing was just not right. Didn't work for playability. I couldn't suspend disbelief that much with the size difference between them. And then the thing that is the worst part about these figures is whatever kind of plastic rubber they used, it was way too hard. There was no real give on these, and unfortunately these scuffed extremely easy. So I mean, if you threw these guys in a box together, they would have marks all over them. If you ever see these at an antique store, garage sale, most of the time they're scuffed up beyond repair. And unfortunately, even if you're pulling these guys off the card all these years later, you know, some 20, 30 years later, they're scuffed up out of the packaging, even just from the wear and tear of being in the package against the plastic and against the cardboard. So These are very hard to get minty, and if you want to keep them minty, you never have them touch each other, basically, is what you have to do. So, not the greatest toy line by all intents and purposes. Has a little bit of a nostalgic tug to some people out there, but I don't know if anybody thinks this is their favorite toy line of all time. But you think somebody out there would. They're probably crazy, but hey, we're all a little bit crazy, of course, as we know. But we're going to do this top 10, and we're going to do it like all the other top 10s. We're going to start at number 10, work our way to number 1. Number 1 being my favorite of all time. Of course, this is my list. Put your list in the comments down below. So without further ado, let's run through it. Let's run through the WCW Original San Francisco Toy Makers Top 10. We kick off the countdown with a figure from a 2-pack. And this guy, this performer, is way underserviced in the action figure department. I wish we had many of his figures. Unfortunately, we got FTC. And besides this, that's really it. So it's a special figure, but it's not what I think of when I close my eyes and I think of this guy. Who are we talking about? We're talking about beautiful Bobby Eaton, or what was it, Robert Earl Eaton or something, because it was his time with Steven Regal, part of the Blue Bloods. Now, Bobby Eaton, one of the greatest performers of all time, didn't quite look like it. Looked like a guy you just see in the crowd, but man, oh man, when he'd bust out that Alabama Jam and all the tag team specialty moves with the Midnight Express with Jim Cornette, it was an absolute another level. And Bobby Eaton, the old Alabama Jam, a favorite of mine were my little kids, my kids, when they were little, they used to jump off the couch into cushions, and I'd say, pull out the Alabama Jam, and they knew exactly what I was talking about. So Bobby Eaton, an all-time favorite. Definitely not what we think of with Bobby Eaton, but it is cool for what it is, and a guy that just very underserviced in the action figure community. To have this as his first figure almost feels like a travesty, but it is a special figure just because it is Bobby Eaton. It is his first figure, and that's why it comes in at number 10 in the top 10 countdown. Next up in the countdown, number 9. And number 9 performer, one of my all-time favorite performers. Now, this figure is not one of my all-time favorites. It's my 9th favorite from the OSFTM line. It's my boy Sting. It is Crow Sting, and this was part of the 2-pack with Wolfpack Sting once upon a time. What holds this one back a lot is the little Bret Hart hand gestures here. I mean, is he taking the sharpshooter? No, Bret Hart stole it from Sting. That's what I'm going to die on that hill. I know Bret says he got it from Japan or something. I don't care. He stole it from Sting. That's what I want to believe. But it looks like he's copying Bret Hart here, getting a little revenge, getting a little payback here. We've got better Sting figures in this line. You're going to see some in this countdown. Who knows? But this one, for what it represents, being Crow Sting, which obviously everybody loved. Me personally, I prefer the Surfer Sting, but there's a special spot in my heart for the Crow Sting as well. So much so, in fact, he comes in at number 9 in the top 10 countdown. We're feeling great at number 8 as we continue to count down the WCW Original San Francisco Toy Makers top 10 favorites, my personal favorites once again. But here we are at number 8. Number 8 was one of the rarest figures from this line. And this one was pretty hard to get. This is the last one it took for me to track down the entire regular version of this line here. Who's at number 8? Well, Flexi Lexi, Lex Luger. An amazing one here. I did get this one off the card, and unfortunately, you got scuffing where the back of the cardboard. I mentioned that earlier. You got that on this Lex Luger. Lex Luger looking a little bit like Brock Lesnar's daughter here. You got to call it like you see him, of course. But it is cool to get Lex Luger. We all remember Lex Luger fondly from his time in WCW. I know WWF as well, but WCW is really where he hit his stride. A pretty good position for Luger. Flexing the double buys makes a lot of sense here for him. A fun figure, a hard-to-find figure, a figure that comes in at number 8 in my top 10 countdown. Next up at number 7 is one of the most underrated performers of all time in wrestling. I always enjoyed his time in WCW, and that's really the heart and soul of his time wrestling. For me personally, he did have some good matches, of course, in the WWE, but I really enjoyed his WCW work. That's where I got to learn about this guy, this character, whatever you want to call him. And we already saw his tag team partner in this countdown, number 10, but number 7, we're going to Lord Steven Regal. Another classic one. Steve Regal, a guy, a few figures, especially the William Regal days from the WWE, but would love some more classic Steven Regal figures, William Regal as well. Get me a man's man from his time in the WWF, and of course, there's so much meat on the bone, part of his WCW time frame. We got one once upon a time, a heck of a peg warmer. Could see that being in the greatest hits line down the line from Mattel. But this is our first Steven Regal figure once upon a time from the OSFTM line. A great positioning, great playability with this one. Just a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I guess I could grab Bobby Eaton here. I got him hanging out. Look at that size difference there. That was one thing about these guys. They didn't scale so well together, of course. But very, very fun to get the Blue Bloods here once upon a time. Steve Regal coming in at number 7. Keep working our way through the countdown now at number 6. And number 6, probably the most famous OSFTM figure of all time. It's debatable, of course, but this is the one that put him on the map. This is the one I see the most out at toy stores, antique malls, things like that. Who is it at number 6? Well, Hulkamania's running wild, brother. It's the Hulkster here. Comes with WCW title belt as well. Very cool to see that. But a very meat and potatoes Hulk Hogan, especially of his time in WCW. A little bit smaller than he was once upon a time. And this figure, it seemed like if anybody had these lines, this was the figure they had. And like I said, I'm pretty sure this was the figure I picked up at KB Toys that one fateful day. That fateful day that didn't do anything for my life. I want to say it would change my life. It unfortunately didn't do anything for me. But Hulkamania running wild, and with Hulkamania running wild in WCW came all kinds of tie-ins, all kinds of promotions, all kinds of new figure lines. He was going to be the center point of this collection. And this figure, say what you want about it, it's definitely memorable. Got to put it on the list at number 6. We're at the halfway point of the countdown. You got your list together. Make sure you put it in the comments down below. And make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel, as we got countdown videos every single Thursday and occasionally top 10s like we're doing here today. On the hunt for 54,000 subscribers. Need your help. Make sure you subscribe. How about that? But here at number 5 is my twin brother. I hear it all the time. I don't hear it as much as I used to in the comments. But it's always, Kyle, did anybody ever tell you look like AJ Styles? Kyle, anybody ever tell you look like the Cowardly Lion? Kyle, anybody ever tell you look like Hugh Grant? I used to get that all the time too, which is really strange. Kyle, anybody tell you used to look like The Miz once upon a time? I used to get that all the time. But one I get a lot as well is, Kyle, anybody ever tell you look like the Giant from WCW? Well, here he is at number 5. It is the Giant from WCW. Pre-beard edition of him. The Giant, absolutely amazing. I love that they actually made this figure a giant. That is so key. You don't want him to be just a little guy. And where's that Bobby Eaton? He's the littlest guy in the line. You put these guys together, look at that. How wild is that together? But that feels like it makes sense in real life. So I like that. Bobby Eaton a little small, actually, but still. This Giant is a fun figure. A moment in time, I feel like the Dungeon of Doom is calling right now. But very cool to get the Giant. Not his first figure, but one of his first figures from way back then. Just a very fun one. Actually, it might be his first figure. I always get confused which... This came first, I think. I don't know. But it is, I believe, his first figure ever. Or if not, it's one of his first figures. How about there? We'll cover all the bases here. This Giant is a fun figure, a standout figure, a figure that comes in at number 5. Getting close to the top spot, we're at number 4. And number 4 comes from the guy that we already saw earlier. This time, more in line with what my t-shirt represents. Of course, Surfer Sting at number 4, but which one is it? Oh, it's the pink Surfer Sting here. Something about those 90s colors just always captured my heart. I love those bright greens, those Ultimate Warrior greens, and those hot pink Sting colors. That's what I like from the 90s. And this Sting is an amazing Sting in look and appearance. Playability leaves a little bit to be desired, in all honesty here, but it is a perfect representation of 90s Sting and all the colors and everything that brings with it. Sting coming in at number 4. We're down to the final 3, and number 3 is a performer that had many figures, many a repaint in this line, and looking at all the different colors from green to red and so forth and so forth, the blue is the one that stole my heart and came in here at number 3. Who are we talking about? Well, we're talking about the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. An amazing, amazing piece of business here. I love this Ric Flair. I think playability-wise, looks-wise, everything hits spot on. And like I said, they made this one multiple times in green and red and blue. Many different colors for Sting. How about Ric Flair over the years? Still have Sting on the mind there, I guess. But Ric Flair, amazing. This one, extremely hard to get. This is the very rare Blue Trunks edition. Not many of these got out. This one is minty. Happy to have this in my collection. Quite the Ric Flair gamut, though, in this line. And I guess a lot of people, you just got to pick your favorite one of the bunch. And for me, far and away, it is the blue version coming in at number 3. Getting real close, like a young traveling Woolberries, to the end of the line. Here we are at number 2. What is my number 2 favorite WCW OSFTM figure of all time? Well, one of my favorite performers of all time. In my estimation, the greatest big man wrestler of all time. Who are we talking about at number 2? We're talking about that man they call Vader. It's truly Vader time. Big Van Vader. A big hunkin' piece of plastic like a young King Kong Bundy once upon a time. Heavy, big, round. You don't want this thrown at you, that's for sure. But the old Mastodon, an absolute favorite of mine. I'll never forget being at my grandma's on a Saturday and seeing Vader for the first time when he first came to the NWA WCW. Had the mask on, they took the helmet off. You see all the smoke. Could not believe my eyes. One of the most vivid wrestling memories of me ever. And I was hooked on Vader from that day forward. Really disappointed that we don't get more Vader stuff. Now, Mattel's done a great job, but would have loved to see more Vader styles. Hopefully we get an LJN Vader in the future. Would love to see more Vaders because he's a favorite of mine. I want a real working Vader with the Mastodon helmet shooting some smoke out. Let's see that happen too. Probably not, and I don't know how many more Vaders we're going to get. Superstars, retros. I mean, we've got a lot of we've got a lot of Vaders over the last few years, but I feel there's more meat on the bone, and I still want to see it. But this one is very fun, very cool, very iconic. It is Vader, OSFTM at number 2, which means there can only be one. And like a Highlander, a young Highlander, who's it going to be? Well, stay tuned. The number 1 spot, you got your list together? Make sure you put it in the comments down below. But this performer, probably my all-time favorite WCW performer. When I think WCW, this is where my brain goes first. I'm probably the only one this way. Maybe, maybe not. But this is what I think of. And this one is a very cool figure. And we're going to talk about it here. What is number 1? Well, we're going to, of course, the man called Sting in, I guess we'll call it his Galoob 2-Up version. Kind of feels that way. And I didn't know about that Galoob figure until I got the internet many years later. So it was a bit of a surprise to me, but I absolutely love this rendition of Sting. I'm very disappointed Mattel never gave us this Sting. Maybe Jazzwares can find a way to do it. I would love to see it, but such an iconic look for Sting way back in the day that needs to be represented in action figure form a lot more. And I thought it was really cool that Galoob did this, and then just a few years later, OSFTM did like a 2-Up version of this, almost what it feels like, but just so cool on this Sting. Such a moment in time, one I would love to see in many toy lines in the future. Hopefully we get this version redone once upon a time, sooner rather than later. We'll see what happens there. But this Sting is so fun. Now, not the greatest playing Sting, obviously, if you're going to play with them, but this one is a very cool representation of Sting, the man, the character, whatever you want to call it. And this would be a perfect one if you just want a representation of Sting on your office desk. That's a pretty cool one if you ask me. So Stinger taking the top spot in my top 10 WCW OSFTM countdown. Be interested to hear your top 10. Once again, put it in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and my other YouTube channel. Of course, check out Patreon YouTube channel memberships for even more content. Sir Paul64 on the X, _Kyle_Peterson on Threads, Instagram, TikTok, and of course, The Kyle Peterson Show at gmail.com, which is my podcast each and every Tuesday where podcasts are found with videocast on YouTube. So for another top 10, I'm Kyle. See you guys all real soon.
Well, are we gonna dance or are we gonna play?